We're live! Yay! Okay, this is Math 40, Elementary Algebra. This is section 3.4, and we are talking about slopes and rates of change. Woohoo! And in the previous video, we talked about basically what is a slope. And it is a measurement of how steep a line is. If a line is really steep, or not very steep, or completely flat, or really, really steep. So that's what we're looking at, is how do we quantify how steep a slope is? And there is a formula. And the formula is a little bit intimidating, so I want to walk through it. This says the slope of the line passing through, and then you'll notice we've got little subscripts, x sub 1, y sub 1, and then the point x sub 2, y sub 2. So the little subscripts are like their last name. It tells us that these two are in the same family and these two are in the same family. So we can track them when we look at the formula. And it says the slope, which is equal to m, which is the rise over the run, which is the change in y over the change in x, which is delta y over delta x, all those things that it was previously, is also equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the thing to keep in mind is, for example, if x1, y1 is the pink family, and if x2, y2 is the blue family, notice that x2 and y2 sit right over each other, and x1 and y1 sit right next to each other too, top to bottom. Now, a lot of people ask, well, which one goes first? And the answer is it does not matter. As long as you keep the families aligned and as long as you subtract, you will get the slope. So we're going to use the slope formula here. We're going to find the slope here for the line passing through these 2 points. And I'm going to split this in half because I'm going to do it 2 different ways. So if I've got the points -1 and 3 and 2, 6, my slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. And if you're thinking that I'm writing the formula again to try to convince you to write the formula again so you can learn it faster, you're right. So basically what I have to do is I have to pick one of the y's to go first. It does not matter which one, truly does not matter. So I'm going to go with 6 because it's bigger. So I'm going to do 6 minus 3. Okay, so this is now my blue set, and I'm going to put my blue numbers here. This is my pink set, and I'm going to put my pink numbers right there. And so I'm subtracting 6 minus 3 up top. So that means down in the denominator, I have to start with 2. 6's friend has to start. And then I subtract, and I have to subtract to -1. So I'm going to put that in parentheses to make it easier. Okay, so I've got 6 minus 3 all over 2 minus a -1. So up top, 6 minus 3 is 3. Down on the bottom, 2 minus a -1 is 2 plus 1. And so I've got 3 over 2 plus 1 is 3. So that equals 1. Woohoo! So I did it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to say, what if I have -1, 3 and 2, 6, and with my slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1, what if instead of starting with 6, this time, what if I start with 3? So if I still consider this to be my pink point, and I still consider this to be my blue point, just to stay consistent with these two, this time I'm going to start with the pink point values. And I'm going to do 3 minus 6 on top. Remember, the y's go on top. Remember, it's the rise is on top, so the y's go on top. Okay. And then down the denominator, because I started with 3, I'm going to then start with -1 minus 2. Now, at first glance, when you look at this, you see that I've reversed the order. It's like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work out. Because it's like I've got 3 minus 6 on top. That's a mess. And then I've got -1 minus 2, totally a mess. So 3 minus 6 is negative 3. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. And what's negative 3 over negative 3? You're right. It's 1. Those two are equal. So when you're using the formula, this is a big or up here. You don't have to do both. You really don't have to do both. You pick one or the other. The reason I did them both ways was to show you that we get the same answer regardless of whether we started with the blue point or the pink point. So you get to choose completely. Woohoo! Yay! Woohoo! Yay! Okay, so next up, we got to deal with some strange situations. Remember y equals 3? That's, and I didn't leave myself much room, which I really regret right now. But so if I set up a table of values, remember that's the one where y always has to be 3. So x could be 0, y is 3. X could be 1, y is 3. X could be 2, y is 3. So from there, I can come up with a couple of points like 0, 3, and maybe 1, 3. Okay, so let me come up with the slope. The slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Bwahaha, getting you to copy that down a bunch. Okay, so where are we going to start? Well, it really doesn't matter. Their y's are matching. So I've got 3 minus 3 all over 1 minus 0. So here, let me call this the pink one. I'm going to start with the pink one. It doesn't matter whether you start with the pink one or the blue one. You get to choose. So I get on top 3 minus 3 is 0. On the bottom 1 minus 0 is 1. 0 over 1. Remember back to squirrels and pizzas. That's 0. Now, do you remember what the graph of y equals 3 looks like? Let me show you a quick sketch. A quick sketch is that the graph of y equals 3 is this one. So what's the slope of this little line there? You got it. It's completely flat. It's a horizontal line. So the slope is 0. That makes sense. There's no slope. It's like the super bunny hill. It's where you start. It is literally where you start when you learn to snowboard. I think my family was the first family in the whole history of snowboarding. They tried to teach us to snowboard. We kept falling down so much. They gave us our money back and asked us not to come back. Oh well, but that was the slope they started us on. They started us on a slope that was completely flat like that. It was just the regular ground. We never made it to an actual slope. Okay, so now let's look at the x equals 3 version. I know, it's so exciting. My cat is very excited. This was a really weird one because it does not matter what y is. X is always 3. So y could be 0, y could be 1, y could be 2. Doesn't matter. So I could come up with a couple points like 3, 0 or 3, 1. I'll go ahead with the blue and the pink again. There's my blue one. Here's my pink one. Okay. So the slope is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. And if you were here with me, I would ask you, which one do you want to do first? Let's do the blue one first, just for the heck of it. It does not matter which one comes first. Blue or pink, does not matter. Okay, so let's see. The blue one, we start with 0 minus the pink y is 1. And then down the bottom, the blue x is 3 and the pink x is 3. So I get, this is ugly. I get -1 on top and a 0 on the bottom. And there's a problem. Because I can't have a 0 on the bottom. This is undefined. So what the heck is going on? Well, let's review what the graph looks like. I don't know if you guys remember. This graph looks like this. It's a vertical line. The slope of a vertical line, if it's perfectly straight up and down, the change in y is so big. In fact, it's infinite. We can't look at this because the change in x is 0, the change in y is gigantic. And can we look at the ratio and even know what it means? Nope. So the slope of a vertical line is undefined. Let's see, I'm going to write this up here. This is a little squashy. Sorry about that. The slope of a horizontal line is 0. So if we were in class, we'd do calisthenics. I'd say, okay, this one is 0. This one is undefined. 0, 0, undefined, undefined, 0, 0, undefined. Okay? Flat is 0. Vertical, undefined. Awesome. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what's on the next page. Woohoo! Parallel and perpendicular lines. Basically, parallel lines, first off, notice that I can never remember to spell parallel, but the word parallel has parallel lines in it. That's how I remember there are 2 L's. Parallel lines are 2 lines with the same slope. Or more lines than that. They have the same slope. Parallel lines are really great because the formula is M2 equals M1. So what does that even mean? The first slope equals the second slope. So if I call this one line 1 and I call this one line 2, L1 and L2, slope 1, slope 2, they're equal. Life is good. This is everybody's happy. They're having tea. They're having their little cookies. Everything is great. Now, perpendicular lines are very, very cool, but they're also hard to work with. Now, a perpendicular situation is one where I put this little right angle, which is a 90-degree angle. That's a right angle, which means that they are crossing each other perfectly, like that. And perpendicular lines have a really awkward formula. M sub 2 equals -1 over M sub 1. And there's a really great reason for this. And if you continue in math through trigonometry, you'll see it. And it'll be like, oh, yes, I see that. That's very cool. But for right now, this is going to feel awkward and just kind of random. So what I want to suggest is that the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Pardon me, I have to sneeze. So the slopes are opposite reciprocals, which means you change the sign and you flip it upside down. And that's the easiest way to remember how to deal with perpendicular lines. Okay, so instead of coming up with other things, I figured a chart would be the easiest way. So if the slope is 2, which is 2 over 1, what's the parallel slope? Well, the parallel slope is easy. It's 2. It just matches. These two should be the same. Same thing here. Slope is 3. Parallel slope is 3. Slope is 1/2. Parallel slope is 1/2. 3/4. 3/4. Right? Parallel slope is exactly the same. -5/6. Awesome. -6, -6, 0, 0, life is good. These two columns should match. Parallel slopes are identical. Perpendicular, that means they meet at a right angle, which is very important. Like when you're building things, a lot of times you want right angles so your furniture doesn't fall over. A lot of times in buildings or windows or other types of construction, small things, big things, you need right angles. Makes the world go round, or something like that. However, the actual slope is a little tricky. So remember this, you want to change the sign and flip upside down. So 2, that's positive. The perpendicular slope is going to be negative. And then see how a 2 is 2 over 1? I want to flip it upside down so it's negative 1/2. Now normally in class when I do that, everyone goes, what? And so I have to sit here for a moment and everyone takes a deep breath and goes, okay, we can do this. 3 is positive, so the perpendicular slope will be negative. And then flip it upside down. Remember, 3 is 3 over 1, so it's 1 over 3. Okay, 1/2, positive. The perpendicular slope, negative 2 over 1, which is just negative 2. 3 over 4, positive, is negative what? 4 over 3, you got it. What if it starts out negative 5 over 6? Negative 5 over 6 goes to positive 6 over 5. You got it. Now, negative 6, I'll remind you, that's negative 6 over 1. So it's positive 1 over 6. And then 0. 1 over 0 is, oh no. This keeps happening to us. This is undefined. Why is that happening? Well, what kind of slope has a 0? What kind of line has a 0 slope? A perfectly flat horizontal line. So what line is perpendicular? A vertical line. So this line has an undefined slope. If this slope is 0 and this is a right angle, the perpendicular line has an undefined slope, and there's nothing we can do about it. Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean the line doesn't exist. Clearly, there's a line there. We just can't talk about it in terms of its slope right now. Maybe in the future sometime. Who knows? But right now, we're just going to say, nah, that's an undefined slope, and we'll move on. Woohoo! Woohoo! Okay, let's see. Ooh, one more page. We can do this. This is so exciting. Are you guys excited? So this is one of those ones where I'm going to encourage you to pause the video right now and try these problems out. Make sure you know how to do this. We're going to determine whether the lines through each pair of points are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So I've got 3, 3, and 4, 4. So I got to come up with the slope from this. And then I also need to come up with the slope from 3, 3, and 2, 4. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video. Try this on your own. Have you paused it? No cheating. Go try it. Pause the video. Okay. Are you back? Woohoo. Okay. Let's give it a try. The slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1, we got to pick one. I'm going to start with the 4. 4 minus 3, and then the x's are actually matching. 4 minus 3. So that becomes 1 over 1, which is 1. Okay, the slope is 1 for this one. Let's look at this one. This line, the slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1, that's going to be, I'm going to start with this one again, 4 minus 3 on top. Down the bottom, it's going to be 2 minus 3. So 4 minus 3 is 1. 2 minus 3 is negative 1, so that's negative 1. So this slope, the first slope is 1. This slope is negative 1. These two, are they parallel? No, they're not parallel because the slopes don't match. So absolutely not parallel. Are they perpendicular? Let's check. Do they have different signs? Yes, they do. Are they flipped of each other? So this is 1 over 1, and this is negative 1 over 1. Yes, it is. They're upside down of each other. So these two are perpendicular, Or am I going to write that? It's kind of a long word. Perpendicular. Yay. Or you can just write that. Sometimes you can just write an upside down T like that, and that means perpendicular. Okay. Woohoo. I'm feeling good. Now, we cannot assume that because this is perpendicular that this will necessarily be parallel. Let's give it a try. My 2 points, 2, 4, -1, -1, and then 8, 0, and 11, 5. So again, pause the video, try this on your own, come back and see me. Okay? Woohoo. Okay. So my slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. I'm going to start with this point this time. I'm going to try 4 minus a -1 all over 2 minus a -1. And this one's hard to tell which is which, so I'll identify this is the green. And this one can be the orange. Like that. Okay. And I get 4 plus 1 all over 2 plus 1, which is 5/3. Okay, 5/3. Over here, the slope, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. I've got to pick one to start with. I'm going to start with this one. 5 minus 0 all over 11 minus 8. So I'm getting 5 minus 0 is 5. 11 minus 8 is 3rd. Oh, wow, look at that. After I told you they won't necessarily be parallel. These two are parallel. Remember, parallel has 2 parallel lines in the middle. And here's the symbol that some people accept. Not everyone does. I learned that as parallel. Woohoo, these two are parallel. These two are perpendicular. I'm going to very, very quickly go through and mark down. Here's my pink. There's my pink one. And here's my blue one. So there we go. You've got everything you need to learn about slopes. Now in the next section, we're going to learn about what to do, how to get slopes and lines together. Woohoo! They're going to love each other. I'm sure of it. They're going to hit it off famously. Thanks for coming with me on this journey of education. I hope your homework goes well. Take care. Remember to ask me lots of questions. And woohoo, math on.